Well, it's that time of the year, everyone. Con season is rapidly approaching full force, and you know what that means. It's time to spend unreasonably large amounts of money on just about anything you can think of. From your hotel to all the merchandise you'll be buying, going to a convention is quite the undertaking. But for many people going to conventions, probably the largest undertaking of all is cosplaying, especially if you've never done it before. Though, unfortunately, while most people have the actual common sense to not do outlandishly rude things with or even as a cosplayer, to this day it seems there are still those who just don't seem to get it at all. Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and I love cosplaying. If anything, it's probably one of the most enjoyable things to do at a convention, whether it be an anime con or one of more variety, but I could gush about that all day. While cosplaying can easily be a fantastic experience, for some reason there will always be some individuals who just become completely different people when they see a cosplayer. So before we tackle what not to do as a cosplayer, let's take a look at these unfortunate occurrences. You know, there's one thing that I think flies over a lot of people's heads, and it's that when someone cosplays, it doesn't somehow change them into that character or some crap, because believe it or not, they're still just your average person. I mean, that really shouldn't be so hard to understand. I mean, honestly, one of the most important things people will somehow forget when around cosplayers is that yes, they too need their personal space. Like, say for instance you were walking down a sidewalk, minding your own business, and all of a sudden, some random person just runs up and hugs you. That'd be totally uncalled for, right? Well, unfortunately, this is how I've seen many people react when they see someone cosplaying their favorite character from something. Hell, even I've been on the receiving end of this when I cosplayed Gyro Zeppeli around 2 years ago. Now, of course, there will be people who have completely different limits on their personal space and won't really mind this, but you really can't assume that the cosplayer you want to talk to is like that. Not to mention beyond personal space, depending on the cosplayer, some people will have really fragile cosplays, with many being completely homemade. So when a person just all of a sudden runs up and either grabs onto you or just straight up hugs you, now not only is the cosplayer very uncomfortable, but their costume may have just been damaged. I myself have experienced this twice firsthand on that same day when I cosplayed as Gyro, with one of the people who did this being another cosplayer. You see, while the first occasion was just a bit uncomfortable, with some random teenager running up and hugging my arm, the cosplayer, who happened to be Johnny funnily enough, nearly tackle-hugged me. Of course, they didn't have bad intentions, since I'm pretty sure they were just caught up in the fun of it all, but due to that tackle hug, one of the pieces of my cosplay just straight up fell off, only for me to find out a few hours later. Like I said prior, it's not like any of these people who make these mistakes have bad intentions, for the most part. They just have to realize that being in a con shouldn't mean you completely abandon your manners. Just treat cosplayers like you would anyone else. And speaking of manners, that brings me to the next big issue I've seen at conventions: picture taking. Taking pictures of cosplayers can, when done right, be one of the highlights of a convention for both you and the cosplayer. However, unfortunately, whether it be due to general shyness or malicious intent, there are quite a few people who don't exactly go the polite route. You see, normally, all you really have to do when you want to take a picture of a cosplayer, whether it be just the cosplayer or the both of you, is just walk up to them and ask. Now, of course, it isn't always the best time when they're occupied with something else, but more often than not, if you ask nicely, they'll be more than willing to do it. But remember, you can't just take a picture of them without their consent. Not only is it pretty creepy from the cosplayer's standpoint, it's kind of messed up as well. Once again, let's compare it to if you were walking down the sidewalk with some friends and some person just snapped a picture of you from across the street. You'd think you were being stalked by that point. Well, essentially, if you're off to the side taking pictures of a cosplayer without their consent, you're doing the exact same thing. Because think about it like this. At cons, unfortunately, there will be a guy every now and then who will sneak photos of cosplayers for well, not so moral reasons. And by doing the same thing they do, you're basically being lumped in with that whole crowd, which, believe me, you do not want to be. If anything, those people don't even belong in conventions to begin with, and half the time, end up being kicked out entirely. So please, just ask for permission. If they're busy and decline, then just move on. Like you, they too have schedules and things they want to do at the convention. And to harken back to what I said earlier, if you want to hug, touch, or even hold a prop that the cosplayer may have, just ask for permission. It really is that simple. Also, just a side note here, concerning cosplayers with more revealing costumes. Don't be one of those people who make really weird, creepy comments about their bodies before taking a picture. You'd be surprised how often this happens, and it can really make a cosplayer feel like crap, so just don't. You wouldn't do that normally, would you? So now, onto the cosplayer side of the spectrum, because there's a lot of right and wrong to be had here as well. For one, just about all of the same stuff I talked about for normal con attendees applies here too. If anything, I'd say it's even more important on the cosplayer side of the spectrum in certain cases, because for those who have elaborate cosplays, particularly those of the body paint variety, you have to be extra mindful of your surroundings, because at least with body paint, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard stories, sometimes even from my very own friends, where not only does a cosplayer run up and hug them, but due to their body paint, ends up leaving a stain on their homemade cosplays. Especially with cosplayers from certain series, you know who you are. You've got to be very careful with this kind of stuff. I know that 90% of you are, but there are still some that keep making these same blunders to this day. Plus, besides the body paint side of the spectrum, if your cosplay is very large and elaborate, make sure you've come prepared for the large crowds of bigger cons, if you're going to one, that is. Because the last thing you want is for either your cosplay to be damaged unintentionally, or for you to end up accidentally injuring someone else or even yourself. Though aside from that, another issue that really shouldn't even exist in the first place is when a cosplayer or even a normal attendee is rude to another cosplayer just because they don't like the character they're cosplaying. It really is dumbfounding how many stories people have sent me where this has occurred. Hell, I've even seen situations where a cosplayer is borderline bullied by a group of other cosplayers solely because the group hated that character. So please, to the people who do this crap, just use your common sense. Like I said earlier, when someone cosplays, that doesn't magically turn them into that character. There's still your everyday average person like you and me. And besides all the things you shouldn't do as a cosplayer, here are a few tips concerning things you can do as a cosplayer that a good bunch of people seem to forget, especially when it's their first time. It may sound a bit redundant at this point, but if you ever feel uncomfortable with anything, and I mean anything, just say no. It's a common misconception that when you cosplay at a convention, you have to let people take photos of you, when in reality, you don't have to at all. Being camera shy or just uncomfortable with strangers taking pictures of you is nothing to be worried about. You can still cosplay and have just as much fun all the same. But overall, beyond all the intricacies of cosplaying, just remember to treat the actual convention itself with respect. While it's immensely fun to go to one, at the same time, a con isn't some kind of playground where you can do whatever whenever. Like, you wouldn't believe the kind of crap con staff has to go through with people thinking they can actively disrupt others solely because it's quote-unquote in their character. So please, I'm begging you here, don't be one of those people. In the end, if you were to take away anything from this video, honestly, just be polite. Nearly all of the problems that could arise at a con would be prevented if those specific people would just realize this. And to aspiring cosplayers who are still a bit wary about going through with it all, trust me, the #1 way to avoid most of the issues I described here is just to go with some friends. However, above all, I feel the best advice I can give to anyone going to a convention, cosplayer or not, is to just have fun. Oh, and don't bail just yet, because I have a special announcement for you all. Bet you didn't see this one coming. Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and... Ow! My face! This isn't scripted, as you can tell. I'm gonna be going to conventions this year. It's not like I haven't in the past, but you know what I look like now. As to which ones I'll be going to MegaCon in Florida, Orlando, like I always have, and I'll be going to Anime Expo, so that'll be interesting. I'm sorry about all the jump cuts, like, I did not script this whatsoever, and I probably should have, but, you know, I'm here, I've already done the stupid thing, I really don't want to do that again. So, yeah, the days I'm going to the convention, all of them, for both Anime Expo and MegaCon, I'm going all the days. Oh, and sorry about the shitty quality, I'm literally just using some webcam fucking application on some random website, so you know, whatever works. I don't actually have like a good webcam for my laptop or desktop, so I mean, I promise you that next time, centered, next time I will have a good webcam, so you won't have to deal with this bullshit. Back to the normal segment that isn't fucking awful and actually scripted, unlike this. Well, that sure was something. I probably won't come on camera very often at all on this channel, but so I can meet up with fans and whatnot at conventions. I couldn't really avoid doing a face reveal for much longer. So yeah, hope to see you all at MegaCon and Anime Expo. Can't wait to see all the comments making fun of my face now. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe, and today's cool thing of the day would have to be the videos by my buddy Soul. I'm sure some of you have already seen at least one of them, but he really deserves all the attention he can get for the amount of effort he puts into his videos. Coming from someone who can barely sit through an analysis video longer than 20 minutes, I can definitely say that Soul is already one of the best at his craft, and with his channel only having 4 videos out right now, I highly suggest you all go check them out. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic. As you can see, I have a really nice background going here. Got my Fooly Cooly wall up scroll thing. Got the RPG Monger. It's really nice. I totally didn't put this together last second. No. I am Mr. Professional YouTuber. Hello. Goodbye. This isn't going as fast as I want it to. Fuck. It's fucking taped on my foot.